think COVID-19 needs a little introduction. We were actually in our second semester of our first year of law school when COVID hit. And so we left for a much needed spring break, and some of us are just returning to campus for the first time in August of 2021. So needless to say, it had a major impact on our law school experience. We were really fortunate to get that first year or first semester rather together in person, but spending that second year apart was really difficult. Of course, we all were impacted by COVID, and so there were the concerns about family members and just the uncertainty of not knowing what was going to happen with the virus. Also, like we weren't sure what would happen with school. A lot of us were worried about grades and what would happen with employers and employment opportunities that summer, the summer of 2020, as well as after graduation. So it just created a lot of uncertainty and a lot of questions and a lot of worry. And of course, law students don't need any additional stress and worry. But I think the nice part about it was that it really helped to bring us together in a way that I don't know that we would have had some of those things not happened, COVID and some things that I'll talk about in a moment. We were able to talk to our faculty members and our classmates in a way that we haven't spoken to one another before. Professors were really willing to accommodate their students in a way that was just really heartwarming and just really sincere. They would flip the way that they instructed their courses, or they may have introduced things that they had never done before just to make students feel comfortable. And then with classmates, we were checking in with one another. And I think oftentimes that competitive nature in law school, we lose sight of seeing each other as people. And we're so concerned about rankings and grades and all of that. And so having that experience of all of us going through COVID together, we had to lean on one another. And so I found myself having really raw and honest conversations with classmates about mental health in a way that I don't know that we would have had this not happened. And so it was really unfortunate, but at the end of the day, I think it really helped to bring us together. During my time in law school, we also dealt with the George Floyd murder that happened just after we completed our spring semester finals. So it was like we left school, we're dealing with COVID, and now we get hit with the Floyd murder. And of course, that hit home for us because we're at the Law Center, and the Law Center is here in Houston. And Floyd was a native of Houston, and he actually lived in the 3rd Ward, which is really close to the Law Center. And so again, that was like a really somber time, but it helped to unite us as a Law Center because we were having conversations about race in a way that we've never discussed race before. The Law Center, I think, really did a great job at responding to the Floyd murder and considering the needs of students. So we had a lot of events during the summer where we were discussing race and the impact of racism. And I was on a panel where I shared my experiences with folks about what it meant to be Black in America and my own personal experiences with racism. And so it just created this opportunity for us to have conversations that were much needed. Professor Meredith Duncan actually piloted a course, the George Floyd Equal Justice course. It was a 1-week course in January of 2021. And it was a course unlike any other at the Law Center. We were able to not only discuss race, but we were discussing race as it intersects with other areas of law. And so we were talking about education, the criminal justice system. We discussed the death penalty and death row. And we also discussed some immigration issues. And so it was a really cool course because we got the chance to not only have these important and difficult and critical conversations, but we were also able to interact with our faculty members. Professor Duncan was the named professor for the course, but every day of that week-long course, we had different professors who were actually teaching the content for the day. So we heard from Professor Thompson and Professor Dow. Dean Baines actually participated on one of the days. And so Professor Morales and Professor Morris as well. So it was just a really cool opportunity to just have these conversations that are really important and that we oftentimes don't have at the Law Center. And then of course we had the election and we had the insurrection that followed shortly thereafter. And again, that created spaces for conversations about politics and about values and about what it means to be an American and just these different sort of conversations. And to finish us off, we had the freeze in February of 2021. And so we were sort of hit back to back as a class, but nonetheless, I think all of those events, while devastating and traumatic in a lot of ways, again, they just really helped to bring us together as a graduating class. in a way that I don't think that other classes may have experienced, because we were hit with so many things back to back that we had no other choice but to lean on one another, and to really like help each other through this. And so it was a lot, but we're making it. And again, I think that there are some bright spots in some of the sadness. Prior to law school, I was actually an elementary school teacher. I taught through Teach for America for 2 years in Cleveland, Ohio, and I taught for an additional 2 years in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And so some of my experiences with education and being a teacher and seeing the inequalities in our schools, also getting the chance to teach in schools in 2 different states and realizing that these issues were not particular to one school or one state or one city, but they're actually issues that might be affecting schools across the country. That inspired me to go to law school because I wanted to come to make a difference. I actually didn't think that I would be a teacher when I was in undergrad. I thought that I wanted to be an attorney, and teaching was actually a bit of a detour, but I think it solidified my desire to go to law school because I realized that I needed to do something to make a difference, because teaching does make a difference. However, realizing the impact of these issues and how broad they are, I wanted to do something more to have a greater impact on students. And if I just go back a bit, I guess, so when I was in high school, I went to a gifted high school for students in New York City, and we actually had elective courses. And so as a junior, I took a constitutional law class, and it was actually taught by Justice Elena Kagan's brother. So he was my teacher, my constitutional law teacher, the year that Justice Kagan was confirmed to the court. And so it was a really cool experience to hear things from his perspective as her brother. But nonetheless, in that course, we would talk about Supreme Court cases. We were reading actual cases. And I distinctly remember when we read the Brown versus Board of Education case, which I guess sort of ties later into me becoming a teacher, although I didn't realize it then. We read the Brown case, and I just remember feeling like I wanted to be like Thurgood Marshall. We talked a lot about his impact and the work that he had done in civil rights and the role that he, of course, played in that case. And so I used to joke with my friends in undergrad that I would become the first African-American woman on the Supreme Court because I wanted to be like Thurgood Marshall. And I wanted to, again, have that impact in using the law to change lives. And so when I did the teaching thing, like I said, then that's when I was like, yeah, I really need to go to law school because I have a why and an understanding of like the ways in which I could use the law to make a difference. And then with the Law Center in particular, as I've suggested, I'm not a Houston native. I'm originally from New York City, and I moved to Houston from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. But my husband and I discussed wanting to move to Houston at some point in our futures. And so when I decided to make the transition from teaching to law school, we figured it would be a really good time for us to move to Houston. And he's also an electrical engineer, and his company is headquartered in Houston. And so we had considered the professional as well as the personal opportunities available in the city. And we decided that it would be a great place for us to move and to really start our lives and our family together. And when I was looking at law schools in particular, there were a couple of things that came to mind. Like the biggest thing for me was that I wanted to go to school in the city where I intended to practice. And of course, UHLC is right in the heart of Houston. And I realized that that would be important because I wanted to have those networking opportunities with attorneys. I don't have any attorneys in my family. My younger brother graduated from law school this past May. And so we were sort of figuring the law school thing out together. But I realized the importance of having that connection with attorneys and the value in networking. And so I figured that the Law Center would be a perfect place, but I had also reached out to some of our alums. One in particular was Monica White. She's an attorney now at Latham and Watkins, and she actually took the time to have a conversation with me about the Law Center. And she talked about not only the networking opportunities, but she also shared with me how great the faculty and staff were. And she talked a lot about the administration and the work that Dean Baines was doing with like the pipeline and things like that. And she just reassured me that I would have opportunities, particularly employment opportunities, because students who graduate from the Law Center are just as competitive and just as bright as any other student coming from any other law school. And so after that conversation, I was sold, and that's when I committed to the Law Center. And I don't regret that decision at all. I don't fully understand the impact of this election just yet. Of course, I'm really just starting in the role, although I was elected in January. I'm officially like running the journal on my own. And so it's difficult for me to think about making history, because I still feel like I'm making it every day, if that makes sense, right? I don't feel like I have left any any legacy yet, or I haven't like shaped the journal in any particular way that I could look back and really say, you know, I've made history in a way that would matter to me. But nonetheless, I have to come to accept that I guess this has happened. And it's odd for me because I'm one, like I've always wanted to be a leader, right? Like I'm the one who's always applied for leadership positions, and I enjoy working with people. And if I love an organization, I just want to be a part of making it better. And so that was really all that I was thinking about when I applied to become the next editor in chief. I knew that I loved the law review, and I knew that I just wanted to help shape it and make it a little bit better. I knew I would be the first Black editor in chief if I were elected, but I was really only thinking about the impact that that would have on the students following me. I really never thought about the impact that this election would have on the alumni, and particularly our Black alumni. I received a ton of calls and emails and text messages from them, and well, after the election, and I was reminded from a lot of them that I had accomplished something that most of them, or some of them rather, could only have dreamt of doing while they were in law school. And I think that's when it really started to hit me that like this is bigger than me. And so with that, it just motivates me, right? It motivates me to do an even better job, because like I want to make our alums proud. And I want to make the students behind me proud. You know, I want for them to realize that they can dream and go after things that they thought that they couldn't accomplish, because I've done it and I didn't think that I would get editor in chief. And so I just hope that it you know, inspires them to do something that they may have never wanted to do. And also think about like the hard work that it takes to like go after a role like this, and to work hard in law school, and to manage your time, and like also leading an organization. So I hope other students just are inspired by that, right? Like your hard work will pay off. And I think being your authentic self in all circumstances, it will take you far. And I think that that's something that's been really important to me throughout law school, is just like remaining true to who I am, and like wherever that takes me, I'll be proud of it. And I guess it landed me as the first Black editor in chief, but it's something that I'm really proud of, and I'm still trying to make sense of. But nonetheless, I don't take this honor lightly. And I just really want to make the folks around me really proud and make our journal better. I think first is just the sense of community. We are really fortunate in that we are not a huge law school. And so like my first year section, I think there were 60 of us. And sure, as a first year student, that might seem a bit intimidating when you walk into a classroom and there are 59 other people and you have to answer these ridiculous legal questions that you have no idea what the answer is, you know, in front of them and things like that. But nonetheless, it's a small enough number that we know each other. And so it's really nice now to be a third year law student and to still have that connection with students that I met as a first year, and, you know, to have developed these friendships over the years. And so I think that that sense of community is really nice. And the fact that we are, you know, we transition with our section throughout that entire first year, it just really helps to build that camaraderie that then like extends throughout law school. And I think we're also just really blessed with amazing faculty members. I can personally say that there are faculty members at the Law Center who have truly made my experience what it has been. There are faculty members such as Professor Duncan, who I owe a lot of credit to for my success in law school. Like I would not have known about the law review had it not been for Professor Duncan. And so just the faculty members who are just so dedicated, not only to their work as academics, but also their work in terms of pouring into students. It's just something that is truly unmatched. I don't know, like I talk about, you know, my experiences with my professors, and I would trade stories with my brother while he was still in law school. And he didn't really have that as a student at Ohio State. Like it's a bigger school. And so he didn't have some of the connections with his professors like I did. And I don't take that for granted, because of course our professors are brilliant and they're well connected and they've been through this before. And so they just have a lot of wisdom and they're always willing to offer a lot of guidance. And I think, of course, the student organizations have been great. I love the fact that we are truly trusted with leading our student organizations. Of course, we're offered amazing guidance from the staff and from faculty members and things like that, but we are trusted with leading these organizations, and that's no small task. You know, we're trusted with funds, and we're trusted with making decisions that truly matter and truly can impact the legal community, such as with our journals. And so I just enjoy being able to explore and to grow and to ask questions. And I don't ever feel ashamed of being able to do that at the Law Center, because the people around me make me feel safe enough to do that. And so I think that's been my favorite part, is just being able to grow and change, and allowing, and people around me just allowing me to do that, and celebrating me and pushing me, and, redirecting me when I make the wrong decision. So immediately after law school, I would be clerking for Judge Alfred Bennett on the Southern District of Texas here in Houston. So I'll be clerking with him for 2 years, and then I don't really know what I'm going to do after that, because I haven't committed to any firms or anything yet. But long term, I do have the desire to become a trial attorney, based on my experiences as a junior in high school. I should have probably shared more about that, but we had the opportunity to do sort of like a mock trial when I was in high school during that constitutional law class. And we were arguing the law as it pertained to a set of facts. And we had like this, client that we were representing. And that whole experience really made me want to become an attorney. And so I would love to be a trial attorney. And I'm looking more towards doing more civil work. But I don't really have any like set plans yet on like what that might look like, or which particular firm. Longer term, I do have the desire to become a law professor. I think with my teaching background, and just again getting to know the professors at the law school, it's been really nice, and it's something that I could see myself doing in the long run, and being able to connect with students and to give future students what our current professors have given to me is something that really excites me. And so I think I'll definitely practice in private practice for a bit, and then looking long term, trying to get into academia. I mean, I think just the fact that I will have the privilege of becoming an attorney, is how I expect for it to make a difference in my life. I think there's a certain level of privilege, I think, that comes with being an attorney. It's not a career that anybody can just sort of fall into. It's something that takes a lot of hard work and a passion and a determination to want to do this. And so that's how I expect for the law center education to change my life, is just to have that opportunity to do something that I love currently, and I hope to love for the rest of my life. But I think with it being from the law center specifically, it matters because, again, I think it goes back to that sense of community that we have. Like I mentioned before starting law school, I connected with an alumna, and she is a part of the reason why I chose to come to the law center. And I think that is a part of the power of the legal education at the law center, as well as the fact that we have such an amazing supportive network of people who are wanting to use their own networks, their connections, their skills, their wisdom, whatever they can offer. They're wanting to give that to other students and to other alums in order to allow us to have opportunities as well. And I think that is a part of the power of it. It's not just the practice of law, but I think it's also building this community that is giving and loving and kind, because I think that lawyers don't always get that reputation. But I think getting to meet folks from the law center and realizing that like I'm becoming now a part of this network of people who are really passionate about giving and about serving others. And so I think that's also what excites me, and what I expect to change my life is like I will have access to things, but I can also now create pathways for other people to have access to things that they might not have access to. And I think that is something that's really exciting and really humbling. And I don't know that every law student gets that coming out of their law school, but I think it's safe to say that folks graduating from the law center, that is something that you were sort of expected, and that you should do, because it's safe to say that it's been done to you, that folks who have graduated from the law center have mentored you and poured into you. And so that's what I think the power of legal education from the law center is. It is helping others and using your resources to make a difference in anyone and everyone's lives. I just hope that we continue to grow. I'm really proud of the work that we've been doing as a school thus far. Dean Baines has really been committed to growing our law school. I mean, starting with our beautiful building that I'm really sad that I won't get to, experience as a student, but nonetheless, to experience that as an alum, I'm looking forward to it. And, like our work with the pipeline program and seeing how that's really grown, and how a lot of students who have gone through the pipeline program are now doing amazing things in law school. I just hope that we continue to have that commitment to growing the law center. in a way that's really meaningful. I hope that we start to do a lot better with diversity in our faculty and in our students. And I just hope that we continue to become an even more inclusive place. I think that we're doing a great job thus far by offering different student organizations and different resources for students who might not have the support that they need coming into law school. But I would hope that we continue to grow in that area to ensure that all students have everything that they need to succeed, and that students feel like they can always reach out and they know who to talk to if they're ever having any particular issues. But I'm excited to see what's to come. I think that we are off to a really amazing start, and I think that we're only going to get better. I think the new building is definitely going to attract a lot of great talent to the Law Center and a lot of great talent to Houston. And so I'm just really excited to see that unfold and to also be a part of helping to mold, what our school looks like over the next year or two, as I, contribute to the Law Center in any way that I can. Okay, to the University of Houston Law Center, as you turn 75, I hope that you continue to grow in a way that is going to continue to shape and shake Houston. We are so blessed to be a part of your we're so blessed to be a part of your impact. And I hope that in the future, you continue to climb the rankings and get in the spot in the rankings that we deserve to be in, because we are such an amazing law center. And I hope that we continue to attract really great talent, both in students and in faculty members, because we deserve it. And I think that we are just a really great place to learn. Happy 75.